To be with an elephant is almost beyond explanation. You know, the majesty, the nobility, the sense of energy around an elephant it's very, very difficult to describe. I'm Roxy Dankworth and I'm the founder of the Zimbabwe Elephant Nursery. Elephants feel grief, they feel pain, they feel joy, they play. If you watch Ellies in the water, for instance, and you see them just this huge amount of joy, they're playing. But if they go through trauma, the pain that they experience is just, it's not something that one can actually describe. It's actually very difficult to describe. We started Zen before we got our first elephant, actually. I started to research and look into the possibility of an establishment of a nursery for Ellies, because I felt that there are plenty of orphans around and there's nowhere for them to go. I was very inspired by books that I'd read, and I was already doing wildlife. I'd been doing wildlife for a long time. And Ellies were just the ultimate for me. I love them. I've always been passionate about elephants and I wanted to make a difference. Our first elephant was little Moyo. And Moyo we rescued from a very brutal poaching incident. And she was found alone on the banks of Lake Kariba. And tiny little Ellie. And luckily I had done quite a lot of work with national parks already in establishing the possibility of the nursery. So we were given permission to rescue her. Little did I realize what was involved. I'd done a huge amount of research, but the reality of the situation was unbelievable. So we ended up with her pretty much in the garage. I slept with her for the first few months, full on. We just did not leave her alone. And Ellie calves are notoriously difficult to hand raise. So I pretty much pulled that animal through by her bootstraps. I wasn't going to let her die. And she pulled through and she was an absolute miracle, quite frankly. And that really was the beginning. But they were rough beginnings. They were very rough. You know, we didn't know a huge amount. The vets didn't know a lot. And it was incredibly tough. We had a calf called Mutapa. He was our second elephant, and also a little Ellie, and we were not able to save him. And right at the end, I asked everyone to leave the nursery because I knew that he was probably going to go, and I just sat with him, and he was pretty much like comatose, but he was still almost there. And he was watching me with this eye, you know how the eye looks. And he would start to cry, and then I would start to cry. And, he knew what was happening to him. He knew that he was going. And then eventually he did this sort of deep rumble, you know. And literally at the end of that rumble, he stopped breathing. But he was still looking at me, and there were these little tears pouring down his face. And it was a very, very profound moment for me, because that was the reality of the job that I had chosen. My dream for these elephants that we currently have and future elephants is most certainly a wildlife. We've worked very hard to get a concession in a forestry area of Zimbabwe, and we're going to be taking these Ellies up to that area where they're going to slowly learn to be wild elephants. And that is the ultimate dream. Part of that dream will also be to create a safe corridor for wild elephants. So whilst we are rehabilitating the young elephants, the wild elephants will also be benefiting. In the context of Zen, we're not trying to affect the population of elephants. We're not going to go out there and increase the population of elephants. What we are doing, though, is through the Zen project we are raising awareness. These animals are working as ambassadors. We are encouraging a culture of care, basically. So that really is, in a nutshell, what we're trying to do. How we get there is obviously very, very complicated, because it involves rescuing the babies, rehabilitating the babies, creating conservation areas, developing the anti-poaching. There's a whole lot of things that are going into the pot. But ultimately, it is to create this culture of care within our own community and a world community, in that people can make a difference, and that if people will stand up and try, just do a little bit, they can make a difference. And I think that really is my ultimate, vision.